Okay, so the next thing we're going to work on is SketchUp's ability to create textures and materials, and also how to import and edit your own textures and materials when you find the ones in SketchUp insufficient. So we're going to delete this guy. Grab my rectangle tool. I'm going to draw a rectangle out. I'm not measuring. I'm just going to draw a rectangle. Pull it up into three-dimensional space. Okay. So the first thing I can do is I can come up here. Now I've taken this materials box and I've dragged it all the way down here so that I can see everything in here. And I'm going to click this little create material button. It pops up in the middle here. And the first thing I can do is I can make a color. So I can come in here and I can make a color and I can give it a name. Yellow. And I can also adjust this opacity. So let's say I take this opacity and make it 40%, click OK. There's my material. Grab my paint bucket. When I click, you can see that material is see-through. And so now I can select that material and I can edit it. So if I click here, I can bring that back up and I can change this opacity and so on. All right. So that's the first thing I can do is I can make a color. Now I can also import materials. I'm going to show you two ways. One is to click the little button right here. No, we want to click this button here. We want to choose texture or image. I click here. And there's a folder of textures and images. I'm going to click brick texture and click open. And then I'm going to click OK. Let's title it brick. And click OK. And this is in the model. Now, if I double click and open this and grab this and drag it in, drag it from here, I can add it to the brick cladding here as well. And then when I click, I can add it to the surface. So as you can see here, the tiling is really small. And what I can do is I can adjust that. So if I right click and choose texture and click position, I can grab this, let's apply it again. And let's see here, let's go to here. And what I want to do is I want to change the dimensions. So it's 1 foot, let's make it 4 feet by 4 feet. And click OK, and then we'll click the eyedropper and click again. And you see that we've changed. So let's take it right now. It's a little opaque. Let's make it. And so as you can see here, what I've done is I've made that surface, the brick surface, larger. Now I can also right click on it and choose texture and click position, and I get these pins. So I can rotate it. Let's say I wanted bricks to be going this way, right? Grab it and rotate it. I can change the position. I can skew. And distort. Okay. And then when I'm done, I just click away. And what I've done is I have applied this texture and I've put it into my library. And I can adjust this opacity or even change its color. If I click colorize here, I can come up here and say, hey, I want the bricks to be purple or a little more orange. Okay, and that's how I create a texture. Now, where do I get textures from? So you have on your website, on the school website, there's a folder called Sketchup Resources, and then there's materials. And if I click there and then click materials, that will take you to a Google Drive, and in the folder materials are a bunch of materials that you can download and experiment with. And you can also find and generate your own materials. So I'll leave some links for you, but I highly recommend Pexels. You can go up to Pexels and you can go to textures, and these are free. And I can find textures here, select them, download them for free. I'm going to put them into my materials folder. This is my, let's call this Pebbles or something, so I'll be able to find it later. Click Save, and then I can go back to SketchUp. And there's another way that I can import them, which is to go to that folder, and I can find that texture and just drag it directly into SketchUp. All right, so now it's kind of like a plank here. Let's move it over so we can see it. And so now it's just kind of it's just a surface. But what I want to do is I want to right click on it and choose Explode. Then I can grab the eyedropper and I can sample it, and that will put it into my materials library. Then after that, I can delete it. Now it's in the materials library. I can grab my bucket, select it, and paint with it. So the model needs to be adjusted. Let's take it down a little bit. Let's try 2 feet. And let's try 2 feet, see what happens. Let's see if we can picture. So it's got a weird kind of setup here. There we go. So that for some reason it came in pretty good there, and it came in awful here. Let's try it again. So something weird on that surface, no, not surface. Instead of mapping across, it's coming down. So anyway, those are some ideas about how to work with materials, and then you can apply different types of um, positions to them, edit texture image. Okay, so now what that does is when I right click and choose edit texture image, it brings it up in whatever application you currently have uh, um, set up for editing. In this case, it jumped it into Photoshop, so I could come into here and make some sort of adjustment to it, right? And then save it back out, and then import it back into SketchUp. Okay. So something weird about the way this one's text, this, as you see, it's mapping kind of weird. Okay. All right, so that's some ideas about how to import. I like using the import button from here. I tend to have better success with that. And then when I select it, yeah, it tends to work a little bit better. All right, so we still need to scale that. All right. But there you go. All right. So there's a bunch of different textures in there. And you can experiment with different ones from that folder. I have a man's face. Okay. And remember that you can always colorize the texture. And then you can also grab it and drag it into your materials. So it's going from the model into your materials. And I can either put it in at the root or into a folder by double clicking, opening a folder, and then dragging it in. So those are some ideas about how to use textures in SketchUp. And the textures can make things look very convincing when applied correctly.